Hey, good morning, everyone. Nice to welcome you all to Parlee. I'm John Harrison. I'm the new CEO here at Parlee. We're going to take on a little bit of a tour of the place today and show you around. Come on in. Our glorious sales offices and administration space. But down the side of the wall here is some great history of Parlee's, going back to really, really early frames, back sort of 25 years ago, and showing some of the evolution. This is a frame we built for Tyler Hamilton back when he raced for Look. This was the actual frame he used in the Giro d'Italia. It was a Parlee frame. But anyway, come on through to the factory. We'll show you around. So over on this side of the space, we've got a little setup of current model of bikes, and we've got some of the shop bikes from the team here. Many of these products you would have seen before. This is the Parlee Uray, our endurance road bike that we introduced last year. This has been a huge success for us. Has a different personality when you put a coat of paint on it. This is in one of our standard lilac colors. On this side, we've got the Taos, our new gravel bike. This is set up for one of our team members here. And over on the other side is our Z0, our flagship product that we hand make here in the factory in Boston area. This has been a sort of flagship from us for many, many years, and something we're going to talk about some more today, actually. So let's give you a quick other tour. Jordan here in the corner is doing some quality control. These are frames that have come in and that we're just going through doing an additional validation before they're ready to head out into the field. Over this side of the building, we move more into the production area. So we've got a big industrial freezer here next to us that we store all of our pre-preg carbon in. So it's raw rolls that we're buying in from the fabricators, and down the side here, pre-packed sets of layup. The table on the side here is used for digital cutting of all the components, and we've got an assembly area here that we'll actually loop back to towards the end of the tour here in just a moment, and I'll show you how all the tubes come together here into a final bike assembly. We'll revisit Lyndall in just a moment. She's laying up components into fork molds to make individual tubes for us. And on this side of the building, more of the dirty work happens here. So we've got heat presses and ovens to cure individual carbon components, finishing tables for sanding and preparation of finished goods. A lot of cutters and drills over on this side of the shop, where we're taking individual tubes and assembling those for an individual customer. So when we build a Z0, we start off with a CAD design like this for each individual bike, make a whole series of tubes, something like this. We then go through a process of cutting each of those tubes and mitering them on these machines here so that all of the pieces all fit together absolutely perfectly. And we lay them up on a jig like this. So you can imagine, you know, a bottom bracket insert here, seat post, the front triangle of the bike, down to the rear triangle here. Those are all positioned on this jig, and then hand wrapped by one of our master builders to secure all the joints together. So come on back this way. I had mentioned that we use these jigs to lay up the final product. And so after the joints are individually hand wrapped, we press them with individual mold components around the individual joints, and then use some computer controlled sensors and heating equipment that then cures each of the joints in position on a jig like this. Once it's done with that, goes to sanding and final finishing, and then gets prepped for paint, which is downstairs. This building, interestingly, is a huge round circle. It used to be a turnaround station for trains coming out of Boston. They used to come in here. So you've got this enormous thick foundation of the building for when there used to be a big train turntable here. Just kind of a cool bit of history. We've got warehouse in the back and sort of a messy shipping area down this side of the space. But the magic really happens over here. So Cody has been with us for, what, 16 years, Cody?
Just about.
Just about. So Cody's our master painter and really oversees some of the magical work that we do here on the paint side. We've got a few examples here on the side. Just these happen to be in process right now. This is a project we're doing for a customer of ours that was obviously really proud of Parlee, and we're delighted to see the logos all over, but that was a custom design for them. Here we've got a frame that is a sort of an early internal prototype of a bike that we'll be talking about in just a few more minutes here. But you can see some of the detail that we put in with a variety of different colors and a variety of different details, down to small things like the surround of the gold leaf insert is actually a different offset color to match this crisp blue that comes through the top tube, and then a fade out to raw carbon on the back. So there's a lot of detail in here, and a paint job like this is probably 30 hours of work into a piece like that. Come over this way. So Cody's just getting ready here to put a layer of clear coat as a beginning point on this frame. So here in the back we've got some drying areas, some paint storage. That cupboard we're using for just staging and curing paint. And there's a oven back there that we use in the paint process as well. So let's head back upstairs, go and talk about our new project. Great, so today we're going to spend a little bit of time looking at forks and front end of the bike. And just for context, I wanted to talk a little bit about internal cable routing. So if you look at some of our more traditional bikes, or like the RZ7 or this beautiful new Ure over to my side here, you'll see that the work that goes into the front head tube of the bike to be able to support the integrated routing means that you end up having to have quite a larger cross section in the head tube to be able to support the strength of the fork and provide distance for or space for cabling and other things. Now, in this project, we were looking to update our Z0. And as you can see, our classic Z0 is a very, very narrow head tube space. It really supports these classic lines of the bike. That's something we really wanted to keep. But you can see, we've got this outside cables here and a fairly stocky headset. So one of our goals here was to simplify and clean up this front end. So we've moved to this, this is our new Z0 GT, and you can see that we've maintained very, very classic lines, a very, very narrow head tube, and very slim proportions on the bike. Our goal here was to build a modern classic bike. So some of the work that was complicated here is that we needed to be able to support a fork that maintained all of the strength and provided us the right level of ride quality on the front end of the bike, but still provided us space through the head tube for us to be able to route cables. So we decided to build our own forks right here in-house to solve that problem. So come over here, I'll show you a little bit about the process. When we set out to build our own forks, we started off with just some 3D prints. So this is just a plastic 3D printed part that we just painted black for part of our testing process. And this was just to help us get dimensions and measurements dialed. We then went through multiple sort of iterations of the fork, both to understand layup and the most efficient way to produce it. But during that process, we will take a number of these forks, we'll send them out to a lab in Germany, where it'll undergo pretty extensive testing that runs for a couple weeks. And we'll also do non-destructive testing where we'll do scanning and imaging of the inside of the layup of these forks. Another tool we use during the development process is to make forks and literally chop them up into pieces. And so here you've got a fork that's all cut up into these little pieces so that we can understand exactly what's happening with each of the layers of carbon at each of the points in the layup. And so here on this little piece, you can see a defect. In this corner, you can see a small recess here that shouldn't be here. And so this was a learning that we were able to take away as part of just chopping these forks up and just making sure that our layup, each of the individual components of carbon were ending up where they needed to be to give us both strength and durability that we needed, but also be able to dial in the ride quality that we want. So there's a ton of complexity in these forks, and we're going to show you a little bit about that here in just a moment. Let's go over and look at how they're made. So let's start off with a final version. This is sort of what we're aiming towards. This fork's just come out of the mold. It still has some of the inserts in place that were used during the molding process. But you can see here a lot of the detail that goes into even just the exterior presentation layer of the carbon. And you can see how clean the individual joints and seams are. This needs just a light sand to clean up these outside edges before it's ready for use. The magic really happens though with the manufacturing team. So I'd like to introduce you to Lyndall Robinson. Hi. Lyndall manages all of our manufacturing and oversees all of the development of our carbon layups. She's the giant brain in the building. So Lyndall's going to walk us through a little bit of the work that she's done to design the layup for the new fork and talk a little bit about some of the detail and complexity that goes into that process.
Yeah, of course. Well, here you can see just a few pieces that we put in the mold. At this time, I think we have about 185 within one fork, and 50 of those pieces are just in the dropout area, which is all of these little tiny directions and these little intricate pieces. As much as these intricate pieces are hard to cut out, they're some of the most important parts of the mold. Over here, you can see we already have a couple pieces in the mold. These are our outside layers that make our fork look as clean as John just showed. So having these in here first, and then a lot of the core internal pieces you see are woven, that helps a ton with the strength. If we go back over here, take a look at all the different directions I have going on here. This is just a small sampling of the work we do to get the ride quality exactly how we want. Different directions in the woven, different directions in the unidirectional help us tune exactly what we want to come out of our fork. And you saw all the iterations that we've been doing. It matters a ton to us.
Yeah. Lyndall, let's talk a little bit about some of the fiber orientation for folks that know less about sort of the importance of unidirectional and woven. So as you've explained to me, right, we've got something that's woven here versus something here where the fibers of the carbon all run in a single direction. So yes. Woven and unidirectional carbon. And you'll see when Lyndall's referring to the different directions, what she's referring to is the orientation of how the layers, how yes. the fibers are set up in this mold. And the reason that that's important is that carbon fiber is very, very flexible in this orientation. The fibers are running this way. So it's very flexible in this orientation and very unflexible in this orientation. And we use that difference in strength across the different axes to control where we want things to bend, where we want things to be firmer or slacker And so we use that to dial in even the control of tube shapes, right?
Absolutely.
And across a long tube, we may have different densities of carbon fiber at different areas of the tube to be able to control exactly how that's behaving. And that's really complex in a fork where you've got so many different forces acting on that structure. So
yes, absolutely. And a lot of these go into a really delicate part of the fork where you have to have different directions of carbon, creating a variety of different forces. So you need things so that your fork doesn't bend too easily, you need things so it doesn't bend out, and you need things so that it doesn't go forward and aft. So all those different directions will make an awesome ride.
So one of the other things that you've seen here is that on this fork, we've got a D shape on the steerer. And I'd mentioned to you earlier in this video how we'd been challenged on this project to maintain the slim profile of the head tube, but still create enough space for the cabling to run through. And this is how we did it. We developed a steerer in this D shape so that we can maintain the strength of the steerer and provide space down the rear and to support the cabling. And you'll see here a port towards the crown where the cabling is going to run down the steerer and then into the fork itself, and then get channeled inside the fork and then pop out ready for the brake mounts, and the calipers would get mounted on the rear here. So this is a great example of sort of the finished product that we're aiming for. We've always been really famous, I think, for our ability to develop a really good-looking raw carbon exterior product. We've done that on our bikes for a decade or more already, and we're carrying that through onto these forks as well. So yeah, a lot of work went into these guys, and Lyndall spent months on layup development and design to make sure that we got strength, which we've spoken about mostly here, but also to make sure that each component of this fork behaves in just the way we want to be able to absorb vibrations from the road, keep handling tight, be able to make sure that the bike is stable under really high-speed descents, and a lot of that engineering about how the bike feels through your hands is defined by the work that goes into the fork. So we're really proud to be able to have control over this area of the bike and be able to really own a little bit more about the ride experience of being on a Parlee.
Absolutely.
Great. So thanks a lot for coming by today, and delighted to show you our new Z0 GT. It's been great to have you, and hope that you're able to learn a little bit about fork development. Check us out on parleecycles.com if you'd like to learn more, and see you out on the road.